Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I make a blue fantasy style fox or fox-ish creature. Now this is a sped up version of a video that I actually made for the Cake International online class. So it's just a sped up version, so you're not going to get it in quite as much detail, but we're using the Serracino modelling paste in Tiffany colour here, guys. You should be able to see the scales for the weights that I'm using as we go along, and we're starting with the body, but also guys, I'm going to put links below the video to everything that I use. So we're starting with a cone shape, okay? It's up to you whether you want to keep it tall or short as well. And I'm using the pointy end of my Dresden tool. I've got a metal Dresden tool for this one, but you can use a plastic one. And we're kind of putting an arch in. So this is for each of the sort of tops of the legs. And this is going to be the front here. So I'm going to put a line in between where I want the two front feet to be. Legs, not feet. And then just above, we're just going to kind of bring it out at a bit of a triangle. So it looks like a Y shape that we've put in there. Now let's give it a bit more texture. Add in some fur lines. So the metal Dresden tool just is a bit sharper for me than the plastic one. So when I'm putting hairlines in, sometimes I swap to the metal one because it will give me sharper lines. Kind of cuts through my paste a bit easier. You can use fondant, but it's going to be a bit softer. So if you're going to use fondant for this instead of a modelling paste, then it needs to really have some Talos or CMC mixed into it as well. So I've added a couple more hairlines just kind of on the edge of the legs, trying to keep them a bit shorter. And we've taken a little bit of black paste now. And this is going to be a foot, so it's just a small little oval, and we're going to stick it onto the front of the leg. I've put two little lines in for the toes. Now, because it's got a big tail and it's going to come across, you're not going to see the other feet, so it's just getting one. I'm sturdying it with a wooden kebab skewer through the middle. If you're not in a rush, you can let the body set hard and you can balance the head on the body without using the skewer. Because I did this as a live video and everything was a bit of a rush, the skewer's in there to help keep it all upright. So I've got my round piece of paste for the head. Again, just keep an eye on the scales for the weights that I use as well. And the more detailed version of this video is on the Cake International group as well, guys. Or it is until December. So we've kind of pinched it in above the nose. And I'm rubbing with my hand to sort of flatten the forehead a bit more, so that the nose area sticks out more than the rest of the head. And then I'm going to press in just above with my fingers. Just smoothing it off a bit more now. And trying to sort of bring what will be the bottom edge of the face so that it's flat at the bottom with kind of a point on each corner of the jaw. Going to use my balling tool to make some little eye sockets. Now, even though I've already made one that you can see on the left hand side, I'm trying to make the second one the same. It won't be the same because they never end up identical. Unless you're using molds and things, it's very difficult to make two things that are exactly the same. So we're just using that Dresden tool now to put in a little mouth. It's almost like a triangle shape. And then a bit of purple for the nose. So it's kind of rounded on the top with two straight edges underneath. And then I've just pressed in with my Dresden tool to create two little arches under the nose. And then a sharper line in the middle. Now we're going to fill the eye sockets with some white. Again, it's modelling paste that I'm using. Try and keep it fairly rounded. You don't want to flatten them too much. Let's put in some hairlines, nice and long near the outer edge of the face and that sort of bottom jawline kind of area. And then you want to keep the lines smaller as it comes further into the face. So closer to the mouth and nose wants to be shorter, and then they get slightly longer as they come out towards the outside edge. I'm going to cover the whole face now in hairlines. So now I'm going to colour in the eyes. I'm using edible pens for this. And it's up to you what colours you want to use. I thought I'd go for pinks and purples. And I'm going to draw an oval in, but half of the oval is the purple colour and the other half is the pink. Then I'm just using a brush with a little bit of water on, just a tiny bit of water. And what I'm doing is I'm dragging it through the pen into the middle, and it's going to make it look more like it's shaded. So it's going to dilute it down, but it's going to leave it dark around the outside edge, and it's going to get paler as it comes in towards the middle of that circle. And then we're going to roll two tiny balls or ovals of black. I'm going to push them in the middle of that oval that we'd drawn in. If the pen still looks a bit dark, you can remove it with a slightly damp brush as well. And then we're just adding water so that we can stick a small ball of white. You can add a second ball, slightly bigger if you want, into each eye. And we're going for 2 semicircles that are just going to be the eyelids. So that's in the Tiffany colour as well, so it matches the fur. And I'm taking a bit of black, again, modelling paste, rolling it nice and thin on one end. And the pointy end is going to go in the inside corner. And we're going to drag it across, and then we're going to cut any extra off from the outside edge there. I'm going to cut it shorter. Yeah, so it just meets the outside of the eye. And then I'm just adding a bit more colour just to darken certain areas, like underneath the nose. So this is a black edible pen that I've got. A little bit in the mouth as well. And you can always drag it out further with a slightly damp brush. We're going to use the colours again on the eyes. Now, if you don't have the pens, you can use powdered colours. As long as they're edible, it's fine. So I've gone for different colours in different parts of the eyelids. And just a slightly damp brush that I'm running over it again. So we're going to take a big piece now for the tail. And it's got a bit of a point on both ends, but chunky in the middle bit. It's going to wrap from the back, so the bum at the back, right round to the front. So it should cover 3 of my legs, because we didn't add feet to those legs. But the leg that's got a foot on is okay to stick out from behind the tail. And then we're just going to add little fur lines in with our tool. You can also use scissors if you prefer, or you can stick pieces on individually. We're then going to pop the head onto the skewer. So remember, guys, if your body's had longer to set, you could put it on the body without the skewer. You just have to be careful when you're balancing it on there. I'm just taking the scissors to the edge of the head just to make the fur look slightly more fur-like. And then we're going to use some more of the Tiffany blue for our ears. So remember, guys, this one's not an overly detailed video, because the full video is on the Cake International page for this one. So we've got kind of 2 teardrop shapes that are slightly flattened and kind of folded in half. Now I think these are going to be too big, but we'll hold them against the head so we can see the size, and then you can just trim off accordingly. So you can always take more off. Sometimes you're better to have them too long, because you can cut more and more off, but if you cut them too short, you have to actually just re-roll them again. So once you're happy with the size, we can put some hairlines on. And I'm just sticking them on with a bit of water and giving them a really firm press on in place. Then we can add some colour. Again, I'm using the pen, but you might prefer to use like the powder, and just any areas that I want to be darker. So I'm using a quite dark blue, a royal blue for this. And then even darker on the edge of my ears, very tips of the ears, so I'm using the black pen for that. And remember, guys, it's an edible pen that I am using. I'm adding a bit of pink dust inside the ears. Now mine isn't dry when I'm doing this, so I have to be very careful. You can see it's moving around a little bit. If you're adding colour, it's better to let what you're making dry first. So I'm going with a different kind of blue again under here. So I'm just very, very roughly colouring it at first, because we're going to use the water on the brush again to blend it all together. So can you see, slightly damp brush, and I'm just running that over the pen that we've added. Just smooths out the colour, and we'll dilute it down as well if you want it to look like it's all shaded. And then the white, I'm actually using a powder mixed with some dipping solution. And then any areas that I want to be lighter, I'm covering. I'm painting with this even. So around sort of the mouth, cheek area, and the chest as well. And then I'm just adding a bit of colour to the tail. So I think I'm going to darken the ends of the fur. And once the white on the chest is dried, you can actually add some colour to that as well. So mine's a bit damp, so I struggled to put it on. You can see it's there, but it's ideally let it set fully and then put that colour on. Okay. So I didn't fully finish mine because it was a Facebook Live and I did have a time limit with this. But you guys can spend a lot longer, and hopefully it's giving you some kind of idea of how I made it. Don't forget to check out all my other YouTube videos, and thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and more.